are
Yes, we
live
are.
with ProPresenter Power Talks. And of course, the ProPresenter Poppy is here to guide us to ProPresenter Nirvana.
It's a ProPresenter Nirvana. Wow.
to
Nirvana.
the ProPresenter Promised Land.
Promised land. You're funny.
He is our media Moses.
Keep going. How many more can you do?
Let's see. He is our JPEG Joshua.
Oh, golly. Stop. I want to hear the one for Caleb, since that's the name of my son. What's your Caleb version?
Uh, he is our pudding.
Okay, we got you there.
I got nothing.
We got you there. Well, buddy, it's been a while. We didn't go
I
last week.
know.
And for everyone who's
Yep.
watching, we're gonna be here this week. Next week, I'm gonna be at the annual conference for the Southern Baptist Convention, so I won't be able to meet next week. So we'll be off next week. So
Yep.
get your questions in. But then we're really excited because Sheik, you have a buddy who's gonna join us on the
Yeah,
17th, right?
that's right. My friend Jonathan Perez
Ooh,
at Faith Assembly of God here in Orlando, Florida, is going to be joining us, and he's such a great guy and really knowledgeable on ProPresenter, and I'd love to talk through his process with him.
yes.
And let me a quick apology. The reason that we've been out for 2 weeks is my fault. I thought Memorial Day was 2 weeks ago. So
And then it was really
I
last
feel,
week, so then we had to,
and that was really last week.
so.
So yeah, right.
But
So
we gave a
that's
little
on
bit of
me.
an
My
extra
bad.
extra break for Memorial Day. Honor
Yeah,
honor those around us. Have some
and
time.
ultimately, I got to celebrate Memorial Day 2 times.
I know, yeah. So
I
the next
had a
holiday, you get no time off because you already took two.
yeah.
Uh,
It wasn't until halfway through the day. I think I was at Disney World that day.
oh yeah, because I texted
Um,
you I'm like you want to go live, and you're like, no, not today.
yeah, and so it wasn't until halfway through the day that somebody said, or maybe it was you. I don't remember. Someone said something. And I was like, "Wait, today's not Memorial Day," and then I found out.
But
So
hey, you're allowed a day off. So
yeah,
well, I thought we'd pack a couple things in because we were gone. So we have a
sure.
couple of things to touch base on. Um, One, we had a question on the ProPresenter users Facebook group. We thought we'd dive
Facebook.
into
Yep.
because it's something that I think we've seen a little bit over and over is how to export playlists and import playlists, which is helpful if you're going between machines, going between churches, going between services. I've used playlist exporting a lot when, for example, I was at a church that had a choir. They did a summer tour. I would set up the playlist
Oh
in
wow.
my church when they did the event at our church. And then a lot of the smaller
Yeah.
churches they would go to do the tour events wanted that playlist. And so I would export the playlist with everything there, songs mapped out,
Oh
media,
cool.
so then it could just run for them. So,
Oh, that's
so there's
excellent.
ways that you can use that.
And hey, Steve, I have a little bit of an announcement to make also because this Sunday I'm going to be in the Pro Presenter trenches.
You are. Oh
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
What you doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm filling in for my buddy who runs Pro Presenter at our church, and I'm going to be putting all these Pro Presenter Poppy tips to
You're gonna
work.
be
You know,
behind the keyboard, behind the screen,
man, I'm going to
at the
be
desk.
I'm going to be in that foxhole, just da da da.
I'm gonna text you like 20 times on Sunday just to like throw some extra stuff at you. Hey.
Yeah, bring it. I'm ready for the challenge. You know what? It's like I've been sitting at the feet of the
Oh
master,
golly,
and
it's
now I'm
not that
ready.
good. Like, be careful now.
I'm ready to,
It's
to
not
walk it
that's not
out.
that. Let's be careful now. There's only one master. He's not me. So
That's right. It's George
no,
Lucas.
it's not George Lucas, goofball. Oh, you're funny. Oh, you're funny. So we thought we'd cover
So yeah, I'll
playlists.
be.
We
Yeah,
thought we'd also cover. There was a question on if you could import AVI files into ProPresenter.
right.
So I think we'll cover showing you how to import weird file type into ProPresenter, and then I think we'll wrap up just kind of as you're doing this week, Sheik. I thought it would be good to just talk about like the heartbeat behind why we serve and how we can set
Sure.
ourselves up for success. I'd love to hear about,
I
as
love
you
it.
were in kids ministry when you were training and bringing new ProPresenter operators into the fold. What was kind of the setup conversation you'd have with them? How did you set those conversations up? How did you set them up to get into that position? Because some of that is really important because if you just throw someone in without maybe any conversation about, the why of what we do, it can be a little hard to
Yeah.
kind of keep that main thing the main thing. So I thought it'd be good to do that. So I'm sorry. Woo. Big weekend, guys. You know.
Big weekend, and it's also, of course, day three. I forgot to tell you this earlier. It's day three, Shake Appreciation Month.
Oh,
So,
is that a made up like month that no one else celebrates except for you?
oh no, it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Why'd you pick June as your appreciation month?
Because Stephen, my birthday is June 28th. My 41st birthday is coming up.
Oh, okay. Well, you
So
already had the 40th. That's the big one. 41st is like, I mean, you're like over the hill already. So,
yeah. But that doesn't make it any less special or important.
that's right.
You know what I
That's right.
mean?
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay. Well, okay. Good to know. So, June 28th is Shake's birthday. You can send all
yeah.
cards,
But
comments, and mean
but
requests to Shake.
just on June 28th. It's an entire month
Uh
of
huh.
Sheik appreciation. So,
Interesting. Interesting.
yep.
So, everyone else gets a day. You get 30 days.
I don't make the rules, Steve. I don't make the rules. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you and Lulu can party hard at Duncan. I saw your posts over the weekend, so
Yeah, there we go.
it's okay. It's
Day
okay.
two. Okay.
Day two.
I'm ready now.
Okay, so playlists. Let's talk playlists. So when you're importing, exporting playlists, there are some steps to do that. So let's just for a second here. Let's say we were going to export my modern service playlist. So what you want to do is click on the actual playlist that you want to export, and you'll notice all the items here along with headers sitting here for us. And what you want to do, let me make sure that audio is working on everything here. Shake, say something for me.
Check, check,
Okay,
check.
cool. I think everyone should be able to hear us. So, what you want to do is export just this playlist. There's a couple ways to do that. You can here right click on it and hit export. You can also hit file, export, playlist, and it will pop open the same thing. You'll notice up here you can title it whatever you want. So if I want to title this Sunday Modern Set, and it'll be .pro playlist, which is key because that is telling you it's
Yeah.
exporting the whole playlist. I'm going to export it to my desktop. And I'm going to let it process through the entire thing. And on your desktop, let's see if I can pull open a window to show you.
So theoretically, it's exporting all of the files and the playlist itself.
Right. It's exporting all the
So
files and the playlist itself. So,
so it's one compressed
right. So if you go,
package with all the information.
so if I go to my Finder window, we'll go to desktop. Sunday Modern Set List is here. I look at a couple things. I see the bundle notation for ProPresenter.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look here, you can see, once I size this up better, you'll see ProPresenter playlist bundle.
Yeah.
You'll see the size of it too. If it's down at like really small kilobytes or megabytes, then it might not have everything because
That's
I
a
have
problem. Yeah.
videos and motions and all sorts of stuff. So it's a 2 gigabyte file. that seems to be about right. The reason that it's bigger than, for example, my other service playlist that we did this morning is because my first service doesn't have background behind the lyrics always. And so, therefore, if I'm not dealing with motion backgrounds and
Oh,
stuff, that can make
interesting.
it
Okay,
smaller.
okay.
So I have some backgrounds in there. That's what's making it 2 gigabytes. So now I can now drop this playlist into, to share it. So I can come into a new window. I'm going to go to a drive folder. I'm going to go to our training content, our Power Talks, and I'm going to upload this file. So I'm going to go to Sunday Modern
Yep,
Playlist.
yep,
I'm going to upload it. It says it's going to take a couple minutes, so we'll let it upload as we talk. But then what I'll do is I'll shoot
yeah,
that link out,
yeah.
and then um, hold up,
Uh,
I might have just hit stop streaming. Oh, let's hope it goes.
well, it's still going back here.
Okay,
Oh,
did we lose it? Okay, no, we're good.
uh,
We're good.
yeah, I think we're good. Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
think we're good.
Whew. Man,
Okay, we
pushed the wrong button. Wrong button.
had just a
So
momentary little situation.
so you're gonna download that playlist into your. So what happened this morning? Um, and I'll use the other one as an example. So give me 1 sec. I'm gonna close out
Sure.
ProPresenter. I'm gonna set it up so that you guys can see what it would look like on another device. Well, hold on a sec. Let's go to me here. Let's do this for you guys.
So is this you have a second computer? Is that what we're looking at?
I'm gonna kind of create a fake second computer real
Okay,
quick. So give me
gotcha.
1 sec. So um, so let's bring over ProPresenter. Cool.
Oh, look at some of those
Yeah,
graphics.
look at that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So now I'm in a demo, another computer, let's say, and I want to bring this in. I can hit File, I can hit Import File, and I can now select the playlist from the desktop that I've downloaded or my downloads folder. It's going to ask which library you want
Yep.
to put the content into. So this is something that if you're bringing in a whole playlist that has songs and other elements, you might need to go back in and sort it. For our situation, I'm just going to put default
You
for
know
right
what?
now.
And let me say this. So I only have one library on my ProPresenter. So
Oh, it didn't ask you that? Okay, so
yeah,
yeah, if you only have one library, then you may not get
right.
asked that question. So, yeah. So, let's see. So now what we're going to do is what this is asking is if there's any media that's titled the same, what do you want to do with it? More than
Sure.
likely, you don't want to write over it unless it's the same file, unless you're confident it's the same file. But I'm highly confident that this is probably not the same file. It's probably these welcomes here that it is. So I'm going to hit new version, and that's going to apply new versions to the import. So ProPresenter may quit on you. Sometimes doing playlist stuff like this can cause a glitch.
Did it just crash
Yeah, it just crashed on me.
on you?
So that's probably a glitch that
Okay.
ProPresenter is working on.
Yeah, did the same thing to me
Yeah.
earlier.
So
Now it crashed, but when I opened it back up, it was in there.
interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure mine.
So you might want to check. Like, well, new version.
There we go.
Okay, that looks good. Oh, yeah. Try. Oh, open that library. See if it's in there. Reopen. Yes.
Yep. Stand by.
And this is good for people to see too because it's like it
It does.
happens
It does
to
happen. It does happen.
everybody.
Um, it is not importing everything, so it is actually failing. So it is
Okay,
actually not
interesting.
importing the whole thing. So there's a couple thoughts here. What we could do is That's the way it is normally supposed to work. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not functioning that well. So what we can
Right.
do is go to
Right.
the desktop and see if maybe trying it this second way will allow us to do it. So if I go this way, let's see if it opens.
Okay. Looks like we're
Okay,
getting a little
looks like we're getting a little
farther.
farther.
Mhm. And let's go back to my. Yep, there it
Okay.
is. So a lot of
There it is.
this
Okay.
is a perfect example. Like actually, I'm glad it did this because this is a perfect example of when something doesn't work, don't freak out. I think sometimes the tendency can be to like, well, it ain't working. Well, what I've learned
Yeah.
with time with ProPresenter is sometimes there's a glitch, but there's usually almost always two ways to go about something. Like there's another way to
Okay.
try it. So if it's not
Sure.
working, don't just like assume that well it's done. I can't make it happen. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't think that's actually the case because I think you can actually usually if you take a second or call someone or figure something out, you can find a way. And then a worst case scenario, call up ProPresenter and they may have a roundabout a solution to try to get you live and get you going. So
So,
I
so
mean obviously
let's say
go ahead.
if it didn't work, is there a way to kind of do it manually?
Yeah, there is. So you can export out the files of your playlist. So what you could do is you could copy over like where all you could if they were all in one library, you could copy
Yeah.
that entire library. And let me show you how you would do this. So let's come over here. These library folders, document ProPresenter libraries,
Okay.
Okay.
has
Yeah.
all of your content in there. That has like the actual songs and the slides, and then the
Yeah.
media
Sure.
is housed in here, and then the playlist information is housed here. So if you really just were like, let's say you were transferring from one machine to another in your church, and you're like, I want to see everything there. I'm copying it
Yeah.
real quick. You could copy this whole entire playlist set, like this whole entire folder, put it on a USB drive or an external hard drive, copy that into another machine, replace this ProPresenter folder with these files from this other machine, copy
Yeah.
those in, and open it up, and all your playlists would be there. Now, if you're
Wow.
going
Wow.
to
Okay.
another church, you don't probably want to write over their stuff. So what you would do is
Right.
say,
Right.
"Hey, add this library folder that I've created. That's special event worship, and then add this media content into your assets folder, and then add this playlist. Like grab this playlist now, and open the playlist up, and that should allow you to see that information already populated there."
Right.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So there are some roundabout
Makes
ways
sense.
if
Makes
you
sense.
had to like try to make that happen, you know, in a little bit of a different way. But it should work. It
Sure.
should work. This is the method that should work. File import, file, and then import your playlist. I think part of what's
Yeah.
causing it to be huge is how big it is. So let's try importing
Yeah.
the blended one. If I import the blended one and I do the same thing and I hit this and I hit new version, it's possible this may not have an issue or as much of an issue as the other one because it's not as big. It's still glitched there, and
Hmm.
again, this is part of like this is just part of it. Fortunately,
Yeah.
ProPresenter
And
does glitch at times.
this is all why you want to do this in
Yes,
advance.
this is why you don't want to be doing this 2 seconds before you go live. Like you want to be doing this, and it's one
Yeah.
thing to import a song file or something. Importing a whole playlist is a huge thing, so you don't want to be doing that um, really close to the event. So yeah, mine's really struggling to do it at all. I would have to import it by opening it up on the desktop and then bringing it in. So it's really seeming to not like that file import method, which one thing that ProPresenter will tell you on some of that is you may need to do a fresh reinstall of the program. Um, it could be, maybe
Mhm.
you're not up to date on the program.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
restart the
even
computer, clean up disk space. Like there's reasons
right.
that this could be happening. that are, and we're trying to run multiple things right now. So I'm running a stream off of
Sure.
this. So just because it's not working doesn't mean that it's won't work at all. Just mean you might need to take a second and look at it. So,
Right.
so yeah. So that's importing playlists, exporting playlists. I do that all the time. It's a great option for you. Why is it blank? Okay, we're good. It was blank because I was blank on that. So, um, yeah, so that's importing playlists, exporting from the machine, importing to another machine. There's multiple ways to do that. If you get that crash report, fill that out and send that to ProPresenter. Um, I I didn't do that there just for our sake to keep rolling. But if you have that error
Yeah.
happen, fill that out. That'll help ProPresenter get an understanding of what happened, why it happened, and maybe you can pull some record logs from your situation. So
And
yeah,
when I try to upload that playlist, it crashed out on me. But when I opened the software up again, it was in there.
yeah,
So
yeah. So it
you know,
operates a little differently. I mean, that's even an example of like it was a little different for you than it was for me.
yeah,
So that's
right.
where just because it's happening, on me. Uh, so one question we have in the chat right now is there a way to set up conditional transitions our lower thirds animate on, but when we have to do them back to back and would rather the second one dissolve in, often we don't know ahead of time. So I think he's talking. I think Stephen, great question. Thanks for giving us a question in the chat.
I'm gonna have to
So
reposition my.
yeah, I'm gonna close ProPresenter and open up my other library that has transitions, and I can show you guys something there because I think that'll help answer your question. So
Okay, so I'll read that one more time while
yeah,
you're
read it
pulling
one more
stuff up.
time while I pull it up.
Uh, so Stephen Brandt asked, "Is there a way to set it up conditional transitions? Our lower thirds animate on, but we may have and would rather the second one dissolve in. Often we don't know ahead of time."
Yeah, so um, when you don't know ahead of time, it's pretty. The way that I've done that would be more of a switcher change. I mean, you can make changes in ProPresenter to a transition on the fly. So I'll show you guys a little bit of that. So, for example, where I do this a lot is my staff names. I have setups that import that animate those in. And let me actually set this up so it's in the right look, so you guys can see um, this. So actually, let's do this like this. There you go. So I have these animate in from the lower part of the screen and then fade in. So
Yeah.
you see how that's fading into that, and then if I were to go to another one, it would do the same transition, right? Um, so these are built in such a way that I'm actually animating the slide elements. So if you look here at this build tab, you'll see that I actually have different elements animating in. If you wanted to potentially make changes to how these kinds of animate in on the fly, I would I would do this. I would build your slide out to not have builds. So I would remove the build animation on all this so that it's all there. And then what I can do now is I can right click, hit transition, and I can hit dissolve, and that'll dissolve it. But then if I want to change the transition to another name, for example, and I had another name on, and I could move that in from the bottom, I can set that up and have so say that I have one animated lower third transition on, and then I have another one that fades up like that. So if you don't build each element to a transition, then you could potentially in your sermon, for example, like that's probably I'm guessing maybe where that's coming from is if you're doing lower thirds for your sermons, you could potentially animate those differently on the fly. You know what I mean? So if you have a slide here, I could transition these different by hitting transition. And that one thing to keep in mind with my reality, Steve, and I might need to like, it might be actually great to have you send me a snapshot of kind of what you're discussing, what you're looking at, so I can maybe even rebuild it. But like my setup here, I'm running two separate screens, both full screen and lower thirds. So there's not really any way for me to manipulate how the lower thirds animate versus the center screen. But if I wanted to make the same transition across it, I could hit transition here and I could hit change, from the right. Let's say we want to move this in from the right. Actually, sorry, from the left. And then when I hit this, so when I'm here and I go like this, it'll transition that to that. So you can make a quick transition on the fly to the to both screens with that click right there. So here's that, and that'll transition both of them the same way.
Hmm.
What do you think, Sheik? Do you think that answers the question, or what's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, some of that is a little bit above my expertise. Um, but ultimately, you created a duplicate and removed the build animations, correct?
Right, right.
On the fly.
Yeah. So let's try. Let's actually try building this out for us. So I'm gonna actually try to real quick help us make make this happen. See if I can replicate because I looked at Steven's comment. He did say lower thirds, so I'm guessing it's like just lower thirds. So if I'm gonna theme this to one of my scripture lower thirds. Actually, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just add a John 1:1 through 4, and
Hmm.
let's theme this according to this scripture lower third.
Dang, Steve, I don't know how you do all this so fast.
Well, you know, same way that you work in After Effects, like with the speed of light, you know.
That's true.
Because you
That's a good
you've done
point.
it a while. You've done it a while. Wow. So, okay. So here's like four lower thirds in sequence. Okay, right. Um, and I'm going to change my look here to just be everything. That way, there's no issue. So cool. So the way the current animations are set, you could set a master animation for, uh, let's say for example, Stephen, you're initially building your lower thirds in from the bottom, and you're fading those in. But then from what it sounds like, is you want to transition between lower thirds on the fly to dissolve. Well, you could quickly here go dissolve, dissolve, and dissolve, and that would overwrite your animation to not to change what it's doing. So even though it's set up to be move in, you're actually starting with the move in, dissolving, 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 and then you could have a transition to move these out. And this can move
Okay, so
from the
so
top.
Stephen has some follow-up information as well.
Okay?
Okay, he says that they are custom builds that would be during the announcements portion or call to actions at the end of the sermon. We have multiple services and sometimes the pace of the announcement changes.
Custom builds during the announcement section of your service. So I'm guessing by the way that that's sounding is they're all lower thirds. And so the question, Stephen, is how on the fly are you talking? Are you talking like changing them um, right before a service, or are you talking about in the moment? Because I can manipulate how the like. So here's a sequence that I'll show you guys. This is in our traditional service. where we're running IMAG and no center screen. So I transition in the name animation, that's build, that's a build, the specific build set. And then I go into a connect card situation that's animating content in from the left screen. All that's pre-done. So what I've already done is I know we might need to cover these out. We're always going to cover Connect Card every single week. So I built out an animation sequence that when I hit that slide, it goes in. I think I'm wondering is, based on you saying is we won't have time to right click and miss it, you probably need to build out all the different things you might need and then fire those animations. And you can build those sequences to be whatever you want. So, for example, this connect card sequence is a bunch of different things. It's a background image that moves in, it's a connect card that fades on, it's a text box that fades on, and another text box that fades on. So, this is 4 animations in one sequence. So that literally animates on from the left, and then it pulls off. So what I'm wondering, Stephen, for you is in order to set yourself up to have conditional transitions, you would need to build a welcome playlist that has everything, and then you could disable what you're not planning on doing. But then if someone calls for a connect card slide, well, then you can hit it. You know what I mean? So what I would do if I was you, probably in the situation you're describing, is to have actions built up ready to go that I can then fire and trigger. From my understanding, you won't be able to do that from a macro because a macro can't like fire a specific slide animation. You could potentially have those as media items. So if you built out animations in another presentation in another software, you could build out those animations, put them in a deck, and then a macro could call that media item to that. So you could have those set up. But it might just be easier to, at the end of your sermon, have a connection, you know, action playlist that's at the end of your sermon that's connect instead of Lord's Supper. You might have it say connect, and it has a bunch of different options for people to trigger. That's how I probably would do it based on what you're describing. Um, and then
So in
that
this
way
case, it's almost like it's like the best defense is a good offense.
the best defense is to have everything set up, ready to go. And then you could
Mhm.
before the, as you're planning for the week, maybe, you're not you don't think you're going to cover this animation sequence here. So for example, you're not going to cover Sunday groups, whatever that is. Well, I can disable that, but leave it in there in case someone says, "Hey, join one of our Sunday groups." Well, now I can just fire it and be ready to go. Now, obviously, this is a full screen slide, but you get the idea of you could create an animation sequence that builds in and builds out, however you want, and then just fire those slides as they're called, and you would know, okay, it's going to dissolve this in, it's going to build this in, it's going to flash this in, whatever you've set up that animation to do. It's probably how I would handle it, based on what I see here, Stephen. So sometimes the pace of the announcement changes. So I would have those, commands built in. If you're building on the fly, then all I would say is like you have to build it on the fly. Like there's just you have to know what you're doing to do that level of animation. I can do a slide on the fly pretty quick, like bring a slide in from a media drop spot. But if we're talking about customizing the animation of what that lower third or what that slide looks like, I have to spend a little time beforehand prepping that. And so, what I would say is, if there's a question about what to prep more than you need, and then pull, you know, from there. So, being over prepared with anything that you might need to pull, and then pulling that, triggering that content is great. And I mean, I think like as you look at like presentations that you watch online. So, for example, like sports, like they have to have prepared who wins either way. You know what I mean? Like they have to know,
Yeah.
okay, well, if the Eagles win, we're gonna here's our animations for their winning the game, or if you know what I mean. Like they have to be prepared both
Yeah.
ways. So it's kind of the same thing. Is like sometimes we might be in a spot where maybe it's not as detailed out, and you have to be ready and flexible to go either way. And so maybe you have animations loaded, ready to go for that. Um, Potentially, you
or
could.
not animations, or or the
Yeah,
slide without the
or the
animations.
slides without the animations. One thing I haven't looked at in a while, the Elgato Stream Decks are really amazing pieces of, of of items that you can use. You might be able to, from what I remember, of those you could with the companion software, not with the built-in ProPresenter software, because it's a little limited. But if you use companion, you might be able to actually call up a playlist and call up a slide. So it's possible you could have like lower third transitional items called up in there, and then whenever someone says welcome, you hit the welcome and it pulls that content. You could look at that and see if it will actually allow you to pinpoint a specific slide in a presentation, or a specific presentation and one slide being in that presentation. It's possible that could work, and could be a solution for you. So you might check out the Elgato Stream Decks. Those are really awesome tools, and they can do a lot of stuff as far as like helping you put stuff onto a single button. Um, so Steven, if we didn't answer your question, man, I'd love to get on a call with you, man. If you want to reach out sometime this week, we could jump on a Zoom. I'd love to see your setup, see what you're doing, and see
Yeah.
if I have any ideas, or if we have any ideas for how we could maybe help you with that. So feel free to reach out. You can use this. I'll put this up um, here. You can send send your information to ProPresenter at churchvisuals.com, and I'll get that email, and we can go ahead and check that out. So, um, great. So Sheik, when you're
Yeah.
the second thing we were gonna cover is bringing in different kinds of video. So, like
Yeah.
different video content. So, a question that was asked
And
online,
specifically
AVI, right?
outdated outdated
Outdated
file
elements,
types.
outdated video files. So, well, someone asked about importing AVI files to your
Right.
ProPresenter software. So, AVI actually this morning, Sheik was trying to create an AVI file, and it took forever. And it
Yeah.
actually he couldn't open it up, and I actually can't. Here's a fun fact: I can't open it up on my machine except for in ProPresenter. So ProPresenter sometimes is able to open up those different files. So if you notice here, I have a downloads folder with Call of Duty mini movie AVI right there. You see it's an AVI movie, 72 megs. I'm
Yep.
going to import this in here.
Which is an upcoming mini movie on churchvisuals.com.
There you go, upcoming. So, and you'll notice here when I click it, it plays and it works. So yes, ProPresenter can bring in an AVI. ProPresenter can bring in. I think that's one thing ProPresenter has done a good job of over the last few years. When I had six, there was some specific file types you had to be careful of because stuff would happen, and they've done a good job of really allowing you to. I mean, I'm bringing in MP4s and MOVs all the time, and there's no issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, that AVI seems to be working fine. So yeah, try it. Download the file. Try it. If it's not supported, ProPresenter will tell it'll throw an error, or to shut down,
Yeah.
one or the other. So bring it
And you
in
can
and
always
test it.
use
I would test it if it's something
correct.
you've
Yeah.
never done
Yeah.
before. You never play that kind
Right.
of file type before, then don't run that on Sunday morning. Uh, Maybe convert that to a file type if it's a Sunday morning. But if it's, hey, it's Wednesday, let's check this out. Does this actually play? Does it play repeatedly? Like fire it, go away from it, fire it, check it, restart the computer,
Yeah.
come back, fire it
Play the whole
again. Like
thing.
kind of like put it through its paces a little bit and see if it actually fires. And if it continues to fire, then yeah, you might be fine. Um, I'm
But it
sometimes
is.
like always like, why leave it in that state? Convert it to a state that you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So throw it in Handbrake, but it could be something to check. That way, if like on the fly, someone were to ever send you an AVI file and it was literally like, I mean, no one's ever had this happen before, where it's the countdown's rolling and you get told, "Hey, I got a video I want to play during the pastor's message. They sent me an AVI file." And if that was the case and you didn't have time to change it, maybe then you've tested an AVI file before. You're like, "Okay, I think we can play that, and we should be fine." So, um, yeah, so,
But it's interesting that it didn't play. You tried it in VLC
yeah,
and
it
QuickTime,
won't play in that.
and it didn't play on either. but it launched perfectly
And ProPresenter.
in ProPresenter.
Yep. I don't know why, but it did for some reason. So,
Yeah,
yep. Well, Sheik, as we're getting close to wrapping up here, just kind of as you're getting
sure,
in the seat of a ProPresenter machine again,
man.
tell me like when
Yeah.
people would come up to you and want to serve in kids ministry and ProPresenter, what was your discussion with them? What was that conversation like to set that relationship up?
Yeah, well, that was kind of the most popular like volunteer position. I had like fourth and fifth graders who would see folks on the computer and they want to click the buttons and either that or I had my DJ board on stage. Everybody wanted to
Everyone would be
wiggle,
like the
wiggle,
cool
wiggle.
kids.
Uh, yeah, right. Um, and and one thing that I had to remind them, and first of all, I would staff that position to personality. It's not just anybody that could sit behind that computer and have the wherewithal to listen and to react and sometimes troubleshoot on the spot. Again, I had that. I had the computer. I had all my AV stuff right on stage with me,
Right.
and just kind of made it part of the experience, so that if we did have to troubleshoot and I had to run back there, or one of the other leaders had to run back there and change it, it just was part of the party. Um, but as far as the philosophy of that station is that I would make sure that they knew that they were as much a part of the worship experience or the evangelical experience as anybody on that stage. And in some ways they were kind of the most important part of it as it comes to the presentation, because if they're not queuing slides on time, if delays are happening, then they can affect the flow of the service maybe more than anybody.
Right.
So that is as much a worship. The person behind ProPresenter, the person kind of clicking the button for lyrics, is as much a worship leader as the individual who is on stage actively leading worship. So it's a pretty important spot overall, for
I
sure.
love how like it doesn't matter what position you're in church ministry, like because what you said rings true for me. Like, and that's as I took my position as a ProPresenter operator, and I was not like by any stretch of the mean the leader of the team. I was the lowest guy on the team. So, but I saw myself as part of the worship team and like part of making that happen. And my goal was to
Yeah,
work in lockstep with every single team on the back end and also the team on stage to make sure that they were set up and our church was set up for worship. And like that's exactly what you
yeah,
described was like just because you're the ProPresenter guy clicking a button, it's just as important, to be honest, as the person who's playing the chord or singing the
right,
song or giving the message because you have the ability to detract and
yeah,
distract, and especially like kids. Like I think in adults, I think there's also a huge level of like we're quick to like if things get out of hand, we're quick to disengage. But kids are even more that way. I mean, if you throw the wrong thing up, throw the wrong thing, and do something, and kids are like, "Woo!" They're out. Like my
yeah,
kids right now.
yep,
If you, the focus is the size of a peanut, right?
right,
So it's a huge important opportunity to be like it's not like to try to create fear, but it's just to say like, hey, this is an important aspect of what we do. It's not
right,
just some game that you just like, play Tetris and make whatever mistakes you want and willy nilly don't think about what you're
yeah,
doing. We actually want intentional forethought put into it. And
yeah.
I love that.
It's funny because on and this, I think I was using the last version of ProPresenter for this, but I had an audio playlist of just fart noises. And so you need somebody who knows that like fart noises are funny at one point, but
Right.
not at another point.
Not during the sermon when I'm trying
Yeah,
to like give
right.
the call.
And it is a little bit of that habitudes. I think that's the name of that book series, a leadership. It's like these little books called, I think, Habitudes of a Leader, something like that, where there's kind of this anecdote where everybody in a everybody in a fire station, no matter what responsibility they have, their job is to put out fires, you know.
Right.
So even if you're washing the truck at the end of the thing, ultimately you're helping put out fires, you know. And I think
Right.
it's that same mentality of, it doesn't matter what your role is, you're a worship leader, you're
Hmm.
preaching, you know.
Hmm. Absolutely. And then I think nuance for me, I absolutely like all that you said was part of what I would kind of tell people. I think the only thing that I would then take a step further in adult ministry is because I'm dealing with probably more oftentimes I was dealing with adult, I would connect it to a theology of worship. And so I would say,
Sure.
like in the Bible and the Psalms, it talks about worshiping together. Part of what we're doing is we're setting the stage for our church to worship together. So we're setting it up that
Yeah.
the worship team on stage knows what to sing in case they've forgotten or in
Yeah.
case they need a
Right.
refresher. But we're also at the same time not only serving them, but we're double serving the people in the room and setting it up so that they can sing, so they can feel confident to sing. They can feel confident to worship. They can feel invited to worship. When stuff's out of control and stuff's being thrown up and slides are being messed up, I mean, you don't know what
Yeah.
to sing, and you stopping. Like I'll just tell you straight up.
Right.
I was watching a video over the weekend, some reel. I don't know if anyone saw it, of someone posting of a church that was still doing like a screen sharing, and they were like looking lyrics up on Google, and the
Oof.
worship leader went from one song to a completely different song, and so then you saw the person
Oof.
like exit, go to a different tab, pull up a different
Right.
slide, and like when that happens, I mean, I'm out. Like I'm gonna just
Yeah.
watch
Right.
because I don't know where they're going. I don't know what to sing. I don't know
Right.
where they're going. Like it's one
Yeah.
thing, you're singing. Like yesterday in my church, you're singing a song and maybe someone jumps the word. Like, that's different. But like
Yeah.
I'm out. Like I'm I'm gonna watch until this gets sorted out. So like we don't want that to be the case, and we don't want that to be a norm. We don't want that to be something that
Sure.
happens because we're being lazy. We're being not intentional with what we're doing. Now, if the machine freezes and freaks out, there's
Yeah.
grace. Like stuff
Right.
happens. I would just say like, but we want to make sure that as best as it depends on us, as best as it depends on us as production teams, as best as it depends on us as teams that are serving our church, we want to make sure that everything is as clear and ready to go as possible. And so, like, man, as you
Right.
as you serve this weekend, man, I'm excited for you, and that's my prayer for you. Like,
Yeah.
just enjoy it, and you get an opportunity to lead. And that's one thing too that I would always say is, and this is for you, I think you were saying that you probably will try to remember that is, lead a little bit ahead of when the lyrics are happening. And that I've
Hmm.
just always found, man, that people can usually jump into singing, even if it's a new song, if they know, like, okay, I know what's
Yeah.
coming up ahead. So that's what I would tell
Right.
people that were serving with me is all that you said about, hey, we're a part of the worship team. We're part of the experience. This is an important part, even though it may not be the audio console. It may not be the lighting. It may seem really small, it's just the words, but when the words are wrong, everyone notices. When the words are late, everyone notices. And
Yep.
when the words aren't there,
Right.
everyone notices. So, like, it is important, it's valuable. Take pride in doing it because you are being a part of helping foster a spirit of worship. And I think when we do it well as ProPresenter operators, man, it's powerful. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's just something about when it's people know what to sing, even if something else is going wrong, they will sing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen that in my
Right.
church that I'm at here now. Is if the lyrics are on point, and maybe the music is struggling or something's off, like people will still engage in singing because they can see that like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I love that.
Well, man, I'm excited for you. You're gonna have to give us a review in 2 weeks. How it went? What you
Yeah.
thought in the
Yeah.
fire? Maybe you'll get to
Maybe I'll
import an
live
AVI
tweet.
video. Yeah, why don't you live tweet it?
Yeah.
And then tell me if
Yeah.
you import any
Yeah.
AVI
Just like,
videos on the fly.
yeah. Oh man, I'm ready to go.
It works.
Yeah, that's true.
So awesome, man. So in 2 weeks, we'll have your buddy on with us. I'm excited just to hear
Yeah.
about his setup. Yeah, his vision, how he leads his team. Maybe any tips or tricks he's learned. I mean, dude, this is always a position of like learning from other people. I mean, I was telling Sheik this morning, a church that I'm partnering with is potentially looking at maybe changing up a little bit of the system that we have been operating with and adding a new piece of gear, which is always great just to kind of like rethink how you're doing it. Is there a better way? Is there a different way to do things? So yeah, we've never arrived. We're always thinking about how we can grow, how can we can improve. Are there ways to do things differently? And that's how I always am thinking. Is there things that I
Yeah.
can do to streamline? I mean, that's why ProPresenter. Shoot, I don't know if anyone saw, but ProPresenter released a new update that if you're bringing in photos from social media from your iPhone, you can now click a background, go into the inspector tab. You can click on it and you can tell it, hey, add a background blur, and it'll do what I was having to manually do, which was bring the photo in twice, blur the background, and then have the photo in the center so that it filled the whole screen with the blurred image behind. The
Oh, wow.
It now
Okay.
automatically does that. So like we're
Oh,
always
that's
learning and
great.
growing, man. ProPresenter, Easy Worship, no matter what presentation software, like they're always looking to improve. We're always doing that, and so I just love being a part of that. And so yeah, I look forward to hearing from your buddy, and yeah, seeing if
Mhm.
we can glean some things from him, or maybe you guys who are watching and engaging can glean some things. If you have like background, experience, questions, whatever it might be, and you want to come on the show, like we'd love to have you. Maybe you're at a church, man, and you're like, dude, I'm starting from square one, man. I'd love to come on and just talk about what my questions
Yeah.
are. Like, feel free to hit me up. Feel free to join the chat by just following up with this email right here, and we would love to have you on to do that. If you're experienced, have knowledge in the space, and have thoughts to add or topics that we should cover that you think are huge, that would be great. If you know someone that you think would be interested in joining us and being a part of the discussion, we'd love to have this. This was never meant to be the Steve and Sheik show. It started off as Power Talks, but really the hope is to talk to a lot of people in ProPresenter, in the
Yeah.
world of ProPresenter, and talk about how we can level up, get better at our craft, and do things well for the glory of God and for people to
That's
engage
right.
in worship. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
hit
Love
us
it.
up. Hit us up. We'll be off next Monday. We'll be back the following Monday. We'll drop some notifications next week in our
Well, next
socials.
next Monday is Memorial Day, so
No, that was last Monday. So
we'll have to be
yeah,
taking off
next
from
Monday.
Memorial Day like we
Yeah.
do every week.
Awesome. Well, everyone, have a good week. We're with you. We're for you, and we're grateful for you.